Patrick Pelton from the chat said the Zoom password was full throttle.
Let's go.
Oh
Let's
man,
go.
I would need that Zoom password for life. After Monty signs, we will ask him that.
All right, let's get to a little That's What He Said, because we have free agents to cover. And all the buzz in Boston was about Jordan Montgomery. Maybe it can happen again. So Buster Olney had a report that they had a remote meeting, a little video conference call. But we got some clarification here, and this is in the masslive.com story, but it's a quote here from Alex Cora yesterday at the spring training facility, and he said that report from Buster Olney is right. He said, quote, "We Zoomed with him, but we've been Zooming with a lot of people throughout the offseason. I'm not going to get into specifics, but yeah, it's part of the process. It was a while ago, too. I was in South Beach for that when I was in Miami." So to me, actually, AJ, he kind of told us right there nicely, sure, the report's true, but it didn't happen yesterday. I mean, that had to happen weeks ago at this point.
He also just said it ain't happening, as far as I'm concerned, with those quotes. He's like, yeah, we Zoomed. Nothing came out of it. Not saying it's happening, but yeah. Listen, everyone said all year, it was kind of like Cody Bellinger and the Cubs, Jordan Montgomery to the Red Sox is a perfect fit, but it takes two to tango. It takes two to dance. It takes both sides wanting to do it, and they must be far apart. But, man, we're getting late now. We're starting, we just talked to Tarek Skubal, right? He's starting tomorrow for the first time. Casey Mize throwing today. We're 4 or 5 games into spring training now. Now, at what point as a pitcher, especially a starting pitcher, are you like, man, I'm going to start missing regular season time? Weeks. I know they're throwing their bullpens in Boris Land, and I know they face hitters, and he has this whole setup. But at some point, you start losing big league games, and that affects your season. And we're getting to that point now.
Yeah, and God, what are you laughing at?
The comment, Patrick. Did you see it?
I didn't see it yet. No.
Okay,
The
who wants to
password?
read it? Go ahead.
Patrick Pelton from the chat said the Zoom password was full throttle.
Let's go.
Oh
Let's
man,
go.
I would need that Zoom password for life. After Monty signs, we will ask him that.
This is why I love our show, though.
Unbelievable.
We didn't think of that.
No, not at all.
That's good.
Sorry,
Solid.
as you were saying.
No, solid. No, I was just going to say, man, because now we're getting to the point where guys aren't going to be ready for opening day if they don't start signing here soon. You want to get, certain, if you're a player, I mean, I know Chris Sale was like the only guy I knew that didn't throw until the last 2 weeks of spring training. And he really started ramping it up or whatever. He didn't need it. He was on his own little program, which was fine. But a lot of guys like to get 5, 8 starts in at least. I don't know the exact number, but they need a handful of starts to feel comfortable going from 25 to 45, whatever they're trying to ramp up to get. So it's got to be frustrating with people. It's got to be I'm frustrated because I think all these guys should be on squads. And Eric and I, we talked about this a lot. This is it's getting to the nitty-gritty time where you got to start pulling the trigger here.
But will they? Also, if they do sign him, do you think there's any thoughts from the ownership group that if they do sign him, it's not going to make enough of a difference? I mean, obviously that's not how we think on here. We're like, yo, if the cards fall right and the offense takes even another step and some pitchers break out. I mean, we've been waiting for that for someone like Nick Pivetta for a while, and they have a Monty who's a stable part of the rotation. Maybe the cards all fall into a wild card position. Or do you think they're so far off and ownership feels the same way with their projections models? Because also remember, this is a pretty heavy analytical team and even ownership group that might be like, yeah, but when we plug Monty into the projections, we're still not making the playoffs. Do you think there's any thoughts like that too? And so they're like, why are we going to spend 25 a year on a pitcher right now?
The only way
The Cubs did it.
Yeah. I mean, the only way you do it is if you say, okay, we're going to spend this because we think we're good for the next 4 years. Maybe not this year. Give him a 5-year deal. He'll be one of the anchors of your rotation for the next 4 years after this year. But no, I don't think any of those blips the radar enough to push them into the playoffs past in in the American League East.
Agreed. But like I said, the Cubs did it. The Cubs did it with John Lester, right? And they knew they weren't going to win that year, but they knew that was kind of the piece that would get them to the finish line or help get them to the finish line. So they brought him in a year before. They brought him in 2015. They won in 2016, right? John Lackey, the next year, 2016, they brought him in. He helped them win a World Series. So you can put all the pieces together. You say, hey, we got a great offense. We got Cassis. We got Devers. We think Wong behind the plate's going to help. Duran in center. Whoever it is. Trevor Story's back healthy. Whoever we think we have, and we're a year or two away. Well, sometimes you have to jump the gun on that as a team and say, hey, well, this is a guy that can pitch in the postseason. He'll help us get there. Maybe not this year, next year, the year after. I'm all for it because I think it helps the organization. It sets an example for a lot of these young guys, and it just shows guys how to do it. And you bring in guys that have been there and done that. And I think that's a big deal in organizations that they don't do enough.
Ready, AJ? So if we added a Monty to the rotation for this Red Sox ball club, and let's say we slot him in as a 1 there, just based on the track record. I'll give you Brian Bayo, 2, who was an above-average pitcher last year.
That was AJ's boy.
That was.
Strikeouts. He
Rode him hard, baby.
And he can still take another step too, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, the changeup's really good. He was picking up the K rate, I think, as the season went on. I think the slider, and I'm looking at some of the stats here, was still getting hit. That's the problem spot for him if he improves that pitch. But anyway, okay, so Bayo, Monty, obviously Giolito's going to be in there, and maybe he bounces back. And then you've got a mix of Pivetta, Cutter Crawford, Tanner Houck, Garrett Whitlock to fill those last 2 spots in the rotation, and obviously the first 2 spots when someone inevitably goes down, for a team that's projected payroll is $165 million after a 181 figure last year. Did you know that they're at 165, by the way?
Yeah, I mean, that's still super low for the Red Sox. It's a whole different.
I know. That's what I'm saying. That's super low. You would think they'd be in the low 2s at least.
But remember what I just said about the Cubs, right? They brought in Lester. Then they brought in Lackey. So it might not just be Montgomery this year. It might be someone again next year, right? And then you hope Bayo takes the next step like Jake Arrieta did and Kyle Hendricks did for the Cubs, right? They took those next steps, and that's what put them over the top. So if you're thinking of Tanner Houck or Cutter Crawford, or Pivetta was nasty out of the bullpen last year, so they might want to stick in the bullpen. But, Giolito is okay. If he ends up being your 5th starter, you're like, okay, he's pretty good for a 5th starter. Bayo takes the next step, right? So it's more about like for the future, but knowing, hey, we got Monty who takes the ball every 30 times a year. We knows he can pitch in the postseason. He sets the example for the rest of the rotation. Boom, here's our number 1 guy. He ain't afraid to pitch in big situations. He pitched in the World Series against the best guys all through the playoffs and dealt. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's for the future. It's not just for this year.
Yeah, I'm with you.
How about the fact that they have young prospects coming up? Obviously, they have Marcelo Meyer coming up possibly the end of this year if everything goes well, but most likely next season. In their top 9 prospects, they don't have a single pitcher. They need to strike. To me, you get a Monty, everything AJ just said, you get a Jordan Montgomery, and then next year you go after Fried or Burns. Now, all of a sudden, the Red Sox, if their prospects, which are mostly position players, Rafaela has another year under his belt, Duran will be that all-star that they want him to be, a 45 to 50 double guy per year with wheels. Like, now all of a sudden you have pieces in main positions and you add an ace. Monty or Snell are not the aces. But if you add them this year, you get the opportunity to compete next year.
Great line here from RK9 in the chat. Do it now so you're ready later, and the Rangers were ready. It's true. The Rangers were making moves, and people were like, they're still early, though.
Good example.
Really?
Forget about early.
Were they early?
No, champs.
Early for what? Getting their freaking piece of metal.
Get that ring.
Hell yeah.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.